Hi, it's Andy from Soundcraft, and I'm going to show you the VI7000 local rack, and particularly talk about how it differs from the VI6, which was the product that the VI7000 succeeded. So the VI6 and the 7000 use a audio processing rack called the local rack, which can handle, in the 7000's case, up to 128 input channels, 32 stereo buses. The rack for the 7000 is basically very similar to the one that we use on the VI6. On the VI6 what we had is some DSP cards along the top. It would be 3 or 4 DSP cards on a typical VI6, and then on the bottom section of the local rack we would have various input-output cards. Now on the VI6 the limitation was that you had a maximum of 192 channels in and out on the bottom section of the rack. So we had 16 line in, 16 line out, 16 AES EBU in and outs, and then we had only 2 MADI cards for stage boxes, and that used up all of our 192 channels. With the VI7000 local rack, things are a bit different. What we've got is actually 384 channels on the bottom half of the rack, which is the I/O section. So what we did to achieve that is we added another card called an HD card, which is the card which links from the upper DSP section down to the lower section. So on the VI6 there was only 1 HD card, on the 7000 there's 2 HD cards, and so we've got these extra Cat5 cables linking the 2 sections, and that gives us double the number of channels on the lower section of the I/O rack. Because of that we can have more cards, but the restriction on the VI6 was also that all of the analog and AES cards took up all of the slots in the bottom of the rack. So the other difference on the VI7000 is that we've recreated the breakout box here into what we call the active breakout box. So all of our analog and line in, line outs, AES in and outs are still on a breakout box very similar to the VI6. But on the 7000 here we have an active breakout box, and what this does is it means we use one BlueLink card, which is a 32 in 32 out single width card in the rack here, which feeds this active breakout box, and that means we free up all of those other slots on the bottom of the I/O rack for use with things like MADI cards, Dante cards, etc. So we still get our same complement of analog and digital I/O that we had on the VI6, but we still then have many more slots free on the bottom of the rack. So on a typical VI7000 local rack like this one, what we've got on the bottom is a Dante card over here, so that's 64 in, 64 outs on Dante. We've got up to 2 MADI cards here, they can be optical or Cat5, so that's another 64 channels per card. And then over on the right here we've got another 2 MADI cards, which would normally be used for stage box connection, so that's another 2 sets of 64 channels in and out. And then finally in the middle here we've got 2 cards which have to be fitted all the time. One of them feeds the breakout box, and the other one is a mic card which feeds some of the microphone inputs at the bottom of the breakout box. So that way we get to use up all of our 384 input-output channels for things like stage boxes, Dante interfaces and so on. So the DSP section of the 7000 local rack has also been upgraded just by adding more DSP cards. So on the VI6 there was a maximum of 4 DSP cards up on this upper section. On the 7000 the standard rack comes fitted with 5 DSP cards, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, plus the Lexicon Effects card, and plus here's the bridge card, which is the card which feeds into the control surface. So we have 5 DSP cards. That allows us to do 128 input channels into 32 stereo buses. We can also get a further upgrade on that DSP count, because we can have up to 8 DSP cards altogether in that rack. So if we upgrade the DSP card count up to 8, which would be all of the